everybody. I hope you're doing well. Going over the elements of design today, getting started with that. The elements are like the building blocks of design, and then we'll talk about the principles later, and those are like how do you actually put the elements together. So the elements are a little easier than the principles, so we go through them a lot faster because there isn't quite as much to it. So if you're in Schoology, just make sure that you are getting up the elements of design notes, and then your assignment also is what we're going to be working on. So for today on your assignments, just your digital individual one, you're going to use the notes to fill this in. So we're first talking about space. So going on here, looking at space, definitions. Too much empty space can make people feel lonely and uncomfortable. Too little can make them feel confined. So that's those feelings, right? A good amount of space is going to make them feel comfortable. That's kind of the feeling that a good amount of space gives. It's like comfort, feeling like you fit in the space and everything's kind of how it should be. Okay, too much space, it feels lonely, just sterile sometimes, and then too little is kind of crowded and confining. Okay, so that's those pieces, and then I just want you to find some pictures. So we just do a lot of Google. So I would just type in um, good amount of space in a room. Reminder, Google doesn't always give you what you want. Like you'll type stuff in and Google might give me still a crowded room or a really empty room. You have to look at the pictures and decide if it actually fits and works. Okay? So, but I could find like this one actually looks crowded. Like if you the one I'm circling here with my mouse, like how do I actually get in really nicely into there? Like I shouldn't have at least this like piece right here. I should be able to move around easier. Okay, so that to me is actually too crowded. Okay, it's harder to move around in there. Okay, but I can pick like this one. This one looks like it has more room. So again, you just copy the image and then you paste it on there. You're like, that's my good amount of space. And then this is a nice size for the image. So if it's bigger, drag it and do something different. Okay, and then find a room that has too much space. Like it's just so wide open. It looks boring. It looks like just not comfy at all. And then too little space where something's crowded. And then you just change this. So instead of good amount of space, you change it to not enough space or too much space in a room and see the result that you would get. And then just put those in there. Next piece is lines. So we're looking at, arranging space. There's information on here too about that. You can read through that. And then lines, it's talking about how lines delineate space. So they help move the eye from one direction to another. They outline form, which we'll talk about later, and kind of give a sense of direction. Types of lines, we have straight, curved, vertical, horizontal, and diagonal. Can be used to separate or unify. There's an article on lines if you want to check it out. It's kind of cool. And then it just goes over the different ones. So horizontal lines convey a calm and restfulness. So that's like the feeling. And then the illusion they can have on a wall is they make the room appear to have more width or like longer. Okay, they can make a room boring if used too much. So that's why you still got to have some variety. So on here, like horizontal lines show, that's going to be, they convey the calm and restfulness. The illusion is they make the room appear wider. And then I would find a picture. So then this is where I go back to my friend Google. And I go horizontal lines in a room. Because we want the pictures to be of rooms. So like this one, see how this one shows up? This would be perfect for diagonal. See all those diagonal ones? See how I put horizontal? Oops, I gotta fix it, I spelled it wrong. I put horizontal, but instead one of these images is actually giving me diagonal. So I don't want that. Like this one, right here, this black and white one, is giving me all kinds of horizontal lines on the wall. I have some on the sofa, the table a little bit. Okay, so that's where I could take this, and then that could be my horizontal. Oops, it cooperates with me. And then I put that in there. And then making sure I put on here, like this one I would be, like I'm pointing pointing it out. Stripes on wall, sofa, tabletop. So specifying it's not the legs, but the top of the table. Okay, make sure you're giving me at least, oops, I should have stripes. Okay, give me at least 3. And then you're just going to do the same for each of the ones. So we have vertical lines, diagonal lines. Some of them don't have illusions, right? So you just put that if it has it. If it doesn't, then I'm not giving you one. So diagonal line doesn't have it. And curved lines. And just kind of keep going through all of those pieces. Okay, and then you get the idea. This is just kind of showing you, do not use the pictures from my notes. You need to use your own pictures and find them. But this is just kind of a practice. So looking at, if I do horizontal, if I'm looking at horizontal lines, I do the one with the, like, looks like a kind of a bedroom right here. Vertical is going to be the one on the top. You can see all those horizontal lines on the wall. The vertical lines on the wall. Okay, the one below that is curved. You can see the furniture itself is curved, the room is curved, even the windows are curved, the rug, all of those. And then the bottom one is going to be your diagonal. And you see that mostly in the window, like there's kind of beams or some decoration in that window as the curved lines. So, and curved lines stand out a lot. Okay, next up is your form, and form goes with lines in a way too, because you use lines to make it, but it describes the shapes and like structure of solid objects, and they can be 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional. So I could have squares, rectangles, triangles, or I could 3-dimensional cubes, cylinder, those kind of pieces. And how we look at it is we categorize them as masculine or feminine in design. And so we consider masculine forms to be the shapes that are straight line, that have straight lines in them, and feminine forms are going to be the ones that have curved lines in them. Okay, so if I have a rectangle or a cube, those are masculine in form, or a triangle, any of those kind of straight line shapes. If I have a circle or a cylinder, an oval, those are going to be feminine form. Okay, so when you're on the form, it says, what does it mean? And so this is what you're going to put. So type of shapes that make up masculine form. So you're just going to tell me, and you can look on the notes for that. And then again, Google. You can do masculine form rooms. However, if I type into Google, if this is where it doesn't have to do with color. So I can just put in masculine room. And sometimes you're just going to get these dark colors, but they might have a lot of curves in them, and that actually would be incorrect. So, like, I'm looking at a lot of these, and they're mostly still correct, even though they're dark, but I could have like a pink masculine room that is just not having curves. Like this one over here has tons of curves in this room. Like, if I click on that, see how like a lot of the shapes are circular. Like everything's like all the furniture's rounded. There's tons of accessories with that. I wouldn't consider this masculine. Oh, and that's, you can see in the thing, mixes masculine with feminine, which is fine. You should still have one that's a little more dominant. Okay, but a lot of these I could be like, oh yeah, that's masculine form. I'm going to type in pink masculine room. Let's see what we get. Okay, so like if I click on this one looks pretty, like it's pink, but it has, see how it has so many straight lines? There's very few of the rounded ones. There's still the lamp and there's still a little on the thing. You're going to have some of both. It would be boring to have just one, but it should be the dominant one is that. Okay, and you don't have to find a pink one. Just find anything that has that. I'm just doing that to show you so people don't get mixed up and don't think it's about color, because it's not. Okay, and then you just do the same thing with feminine form. Find stuff that has mostly curves. Then we're on with texture. So in looking at considering weight of objects, we talk about as form too. Sorry, is like this. Like if I have something that blends in, it stands out less and it has a little less apparent weight than something that stands out along the wall. Like the white sofa stands out less. However, when we look at this red sofa along the wall. It's small. It actually does have less weight. Like there's the bottom of it's less bulky, but it stands out more because of the color. Okay, so looking at the which room is the most feminine form. So looking at it, try to figure that one out. Remember, it should be the one with the most curves in it. So look through that. Texture is the last piece. And texture is the appearance or feel of a surface. So this example is going to be, I don't know what happened to this here, but, oh, smooth. This is labeling this one right there. So rough, smooth, soft, bumpy, those are like texture descriptions. And we look at tactile texture is the actual feeling of roughness or smoothness. So it means it matches. Like if I think it's going to be bumpy and it actually feels bumpy, that's tactile texture. Okay. Visual texture is the opposite. It's how the texture looks is usually fooling the eye. So tactile texture could be like I could have a wallpaper that looks like it's going to be bumpy, but then when I go to touch it, it actually is not. It's more like a printing technique that fools the eye. And so that's your visual texture. So like the smooth tile, like on here, smooth tile is your tactile texture of a smoothness. But sometimes, like on here, you can see it has like little grains or it has some movement in it. It could look like that it has texture to it, and then that would be visual texture. So like example, this bark right here, if this was actual bark, I could touch it and it would feel rough. That would be showing tactile texture. If it's a printed technique or image on it and it looks rough, but it's not actually, that's going to be your visual texture. Okay. On here, tactile texture, add a picture of something. This is hard because we're doing pictures, right? So try to find an actual object that is clearly like has that texture best you can. Okay, visual texture, take a picture of something and you can just find it too. You don't have to take a picture. But it looks like the texture is like different than it is. So like one good example of visual texture could be, what do you call it? Like tables, like laminate tabletops. So like if I look at it, and some of these look like they have textures, but if it's a laminate tabletop, they usually don't. Sometimes they do. But I could click on this and say it's a reclaimed look laminate top. So this looks like it had texture in that the ridges would be bumpy. If I like the grain would be bumpy, but because it's a laminate, it's probably not. Although laminates have come a long way, sometimes they had texture in them now. But that would be like my thing. Like if you think of the desks at school, a lot of them, like in my room anyway, have that grain look to it, but it's just totally smooth. So that's an example of that visual texture, and you can explain it that way. Last element in design. So we're looking at this, and we don't really go over it a whole lot because we're going to spend a whole unit on it. But your last one is color, and it makes a huge impact on how things work. You can make a huge impact by just changing the color in the room, even if you do nothing else. And you can kind of see that. So on there, you're just going to tell me what that is, and then tell me what are your favorite colors. And you don't have to have just one. I can't ever just pick a favorite color. So you don't have to either. And then you're done, and then you can submit it. And let me know if you have any questions. I am available. Have a great day.